Yep. Whoa! Here he comes. Yeah. Whoa! Isn't it funny how a day pans out?
G'day, I'm Gavin from Hurley's Fly Fishing and welcome to another episode of On the Fly. Today we're up in the up near the top of Scotland, just out of Edinburgh, on Portmore Loch. It's not a lake, it's not a loch, it's a loch. And it's a fantastic fishery, mainly for pike, and that's what we're here for. It's also stocked with plenty of browns and rainbows, but pike are what we're chasing. We're using like quite a big outfit. We've got a stalker current in a 10 weight because these are pretty big, powerful, aggressive fish, throwing a pretty big fly as well. A sinking line because they're feeding under the surface. So we've got something that's got to get down to them, and they'll sit in ambush on the edges or in amongst the weed and come out and wallop this fly. It's a pretty amazing fishery here. So we're going to put this in front of a few fish and hopefully show you what a pike looks like up close.
Start down here.
Yeah.
We'll get within about 30 yards of the shore, 40 yards, and just have a go.
Yep.
And we'll just let the boat skip along. You know, we'll just take it in stages, wee steps along. We'll drift in, come back out, move along 2-3 yards, come back in again. So we're covering the whole of the dam wall here.
Yep. And we vary the retrieve to...
I tend to give it 2 or 3 draws, let it hang for a couple of seconds.
Yep, so
give it
just
2 or 3
bang
draws.
like
They're not generally overly fussy
Yeah.
about the retrieve.
If they're there, they'll eat it.
They're there, they'll have a go at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great thing about it is the visual aspect
Yep.
of it. A lot of the excitement isn't actually catching the fish, it's actually seeing them chasing it, you know, and
Because the water's so clear here that you will see it.
especially in the spring, especially April, you know, May into June.
Yeah.
It's such a visual form of fishing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're fishing for salmon, you're fishing with a 30-40 yard line, you can't really see what's going on at
No.
the end of it. This is the exact opposite. You see everything that's going on.
And that's, I think, from a fly fishing point of view, that's the most important thing.
Of course it is.
Seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Gav, I would maybe let that sink a wee bit when
More?
you first get it out.
Okay.
Yep. It's obviously quite a slow intermediate. I would
Yeah.
really just let it sink. You know, maybe a 5 count.
Yep.
Once you get it off the dam wall, maybe a 5
Yep.
count, and then just let it.
Let it go.
Go
Just
down.
slow down a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your retrieve's spot on.
Yep.
Maybe it's a slow intermediate. It looks like so
Yes.
it's maybe just not getting quite down enough.
Yeah. Only a little. What's she under there?
No, you're all right. You're all right.
Okay. Just a bit of a tap tap.
Well done.
So we do have fish in this loch, Brian.
I did tell you.
Yeah.
You were starting to doubt me. You thought the Scots are all liars.
Yes.
I'm just taking us out a wee bit from the wall.
Yes.
Gav, okay?
Just get him on the reel and I've no idea. It's a bit of that head thump.
Yeah. They'll often bang at it before they actually take it.
Yeah.
Almost like they're mouthing it to see what this
What
is.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take us out from this wall
Yes,
with this
no,
wind. That's
absolutely.
a nice fish. There's a bit of depth here, Gav, so
Yep. Let it sink.
try and let it get down a wee bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it's difficult with the boat moving, but
Should I be casting more?
if you can, and then we'll obviously come on to
Yeah,
the
it's better
cast
than
that-
otherwise we catch up
yeah,
a bit
and
too
you'll give
quick.
your line just that few
Okay.
seconds to get it down a wee bit more.
No worries. Any extra charge for all these hints?
No.
No, that's thrown in with the package.
It's all thrown in the package,
Yeah.
you see. We'll give it another throw, Gavin. If it's nothing doing, we'll go down to where this bit that we call, there's a birch tree down there that hangs over the water, so typical Scotch fashion, we call it hingy birch. As in hanging, we call it hingy birch. We'll go and give that 2 or 3 casts, and we'll go and grab a coffee, and you can go out and give it a proper go this afternoon if you're okay with that. I'd like to see the wind dropping a wee bit. And
Oh, there was one behind. There we
in?
go.
Oh, brilliant.
Nice one.
Brilliant.
And that
Well
was
done.
exactly what you were talking about, where I could see him, that flash behind it.
Yep.
And you go, oh, I might leave that there for a second
Just
to give it
let
a
it
little tweak.
Just let it hang.
And you go, well, that's pretty cool.
Do you see the wee pike that got out the way there?
Oh,
Have you seen the fish?
yeah, it was a bit bigger than the first one.
Yeah. You can kind of tell with the way that he's diving down like that,
It's sort of like it's a powerful bulldozer effect. Yep.
They seem to know how to use their weight,
Yes.
don't they?
Yeah. There's obviously a bit of weed through there, and they would duck in through that weed for safety, Brian, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Lucky I brought my own little rod holder in there, you know, that can pack that.
That's a
There
bit
we
of
go.
fish.
Here, nice one. Oh. And that was amazing, actually, that sight thing, exactly as you predicted. If they come up behind it, and I'll lead him to you there. Oh, there's a nice set of munches in that. Perfect, mate. Well done, well done. It's a little bit bigger than the first one.
It's quite thin.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
a thin fish, but you know, it's a fish, and it seemed to fight healthily enough.
Yeah.
Get the fly out without getting his teeth in my fingers.
Yep.
Right.
Good.
If you launch him like you would launch a saltwater fish, get that rush of water over his gills, the same way.
Nice big fish. Good fun, mate. Thank you. And we'll get him back in.
Perfect. Away he goes.
Good. Well done, mate. Slide your hands.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks, mate. Well, there's a bit bigger pike, so that's pretty cool fun. And we always talk, I do anyway, about the visual aspect of fly fishing when you can, you know, see the fish, or in that case, I could see the fly, and then there was a bit of like a flash behind it. You know, that might be something, and sure enough, shorten the retrieve, and then, well, you see this thing come up and engulf your fly, and that's what makes fly fishing so exciting for me, and why so many people do it. So yeah, if you get the chance, get over to fish in a magnificent loch like this with the Pike bite guys. You have a lot of fun. G'day, I'm Gavin from Hurley's Fly Fishing. We specialise in guided tours throughout Victoria, but we also take groups to Alaska, Chile, bone fishing Christmas Island, and our most popular one, New Zealand. So if that's where you want to go, come in and see us at our stores in Bentley and Lumsden.
So the next day Tony took us through a noted grayling river, which was something a little bit different and something we're pretty excited to see.
Oh, there you go. Just on that little nymph.
I think I told you although the British record comes from there.
Oh, we've still got a bit of go.
They do fight, don't
Terrific
they?
fish, yeah. Today we're up on the Frew River in near Dorset. Is that right? Is it Dorset?
It is Dorset.
There you go. So
Nearest big town's Dorchester, Gav.
right, and it's a lovely little stream. We've just come across here a little. I'll just grab him out. He's picked up a bit of weed through it, but what we call a lovely little grayling with that little sailfish fin on there. It's only a little one. We'll just get him back in, but a lovely little fish just the same. We'll put him back in, and he's good to go. So a great little start. But we've got lovely little stream here. I've got like a little 5-weight rod, and we should have some fish taking dries throughout the day. So we've got the double rig, which we use a lot in New Zealand or even on the Rubicon, and we'll fish our way up here to likely spots, and hopefully we'll pick out a few fish. But it's an amazing place to be and spend a bit of time here in southern England. But the fish, whether in Australia New Zealand, England, fish are all very similar. So if you look up here, we've got where that overgrown bridge is, the water's going to be funneled, and a fish can sit just offside that current, and when the food comes in, duck in and get it. So it pays just to work in a grid system on your way up there, because there could be fish on either side of that, and get right up to that honey hole right at the top there. And that's where hopefully the biggest fish is going to lie. Oh, and off. There we go.
Oh, bad luck. Bad luck. Sometimes if it wasn't for bad, we wouldn't have any, would we? You got anything with a coloured bead in your pocket?
Something with a coloured bead.
Yeah.
I've got like an orange bead. Oh, there you go. And just when we're at the point,
That does show that perseverance pays off.
it does, doesn't it? Yeah, that was good. I mean, we've had 60, 70 casts at them and couldn't get them to take, and then Tony said, just try something different, like with a coloured bead on it. So we've gone with that little orange bead on the front, and that was enough for him to want to give it a bit of a taste test, and that certainly worked, Tony. Persistence, nothing beats it, does it? A nice grayling too. He's a good £1.5 pounds or so.
So,
Yep, I'll just keep him out of that.
they get that big sail up, they take some.
Stopping, yeah. They're such a different fish. We just don't get. Well, I think there is an Australian grayling, but it's much smaller that we'll get only in a couple of different rivers. But these are pretty prolific throughout the UK.
They're very much a cold water fish, so you
Yes.
get them in the chalk streams and you get them in the northern rivers, but they're a kind of Arctic species, really.
Yes,
But they are absolutely beautiful fish.
Yep. absolutely.
And nobody's ever stopped them.
No, they're just native.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a nice fish.
it's a beautiful fish. Just with that lovely fin, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And that's what did it. That little, just the change to a nymph with a an orange bead certainly made him come unstuck. It's pretty cool. It's good.
Sometimes they quieten down if you hold them upside down.
Yep.
Very good. Very nice.
Well done. And there's many more.
There is a good shoal there. I mean, do you want to have another couple of casts up?
Yeah. Well, I'm on a roll. I just got one in one cast, so might as well keep going. There we go. Nice little one there. Pop. And off. But it was only a little one. We're not that worried about it. There we go. Nice little fish. That's a, what do we got? A brown or another grayling. They've got a bit of power once they get going. Great fun to catch on a fly. And they're just silvery, nice and aggressive. We've stuck with that little fly that has that orange bead. I use that a lot at times nearer to spawning or at the start of the season, just when they, the main thing is that they see it and it tends to work. So certainly on grayling are probably a little bit less cautious at times than some of the brown trout. And it certainly worked this time as well. And they've got a funny shaped mouth, just a downward mouth. They still will take dries, but much like a bonefish where it's they're getting things off the bottom and it's angled there. Beautiful. And he's good to go. Perfect. That's good. A little bit of persistence on a river that hasn't been firing on all cylinders at the moment, but you can still produce a few fish if you persist. So take your time. If it's hard, just walk a little bit slower or try different flies, and then you're going to come across some. And but it can change very quickly as long as you persist. Don't give in. Make some changes, and you never know what's going to be on the end of your fly on that very next cast. Yeah.
Well, someone want to try it?
Yeah, well I would. I was really keen to go, well, what a pike like? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they look big, mean and aggressive, so yeah, and they are. So I'm sure there'll be so many Australians that would love to come over here and, experience something like this.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And that's what fly fishing is about, different experiences in different environments.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
Yeah. The fly fishing seems to be so adaptable nowadays, doesn't it? I mean, it's been adapted to almost catch any species of fish.
Yeah.
You can even catch sharks on the fly and stuff now as well. And
Yeah.
It's incredible what they can do with it.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's up in the warmer climates and stuff as well. But when we've got like sailfish, I've got a 11.5 foot sailfish, which is massive. That was really cool. But every fish, there wouldn't be a fish swimming that you couldn't catch on fly, and even say like milkfish, which are essentially a vegetarian, you catch them on flies. You get them on a weed fly.
Ah, right, yeah.
So so there's literally not a fish you can't catch anymore on a fly rod. It's more satisfaction. I think anybody can catch a fish on a spinning rod and you can wind like buggery and still catch it. Whereas this, you've got to have cast it properly, the right fly, right retrieve. You've got to do a lot of things right, I think, Brian, that's why it's quite a stimulating and rewarding.
Drop that fly right in amongst them, to the side. If you hook up, we'll go in and we'll treat it, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's where the fish often lie.
Yes, yeah.
Stevie came out here a couple of years back, and he just had a cast underneath the big tree just out from where the boats are moored. And he got one out there, 35.
Wow.
He went out the following day and got one out the same lie, 25.
Gee.
60 pounds of pike and 2 fish in 2 days.
Wow. So they'll be in around all those roots and stuff and sit there and wait for a little redfin to come past and bang.
Absolutely, Gav, yeah. Ambush hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing about the pike as well is, if you were out for trout, the last thing you want is that bright sun.
Yes.
The pike don't seem to bother.
No? Okay.
The pike fishing on some bright sunny days, it's still very good. And of course with the bright sun, if it's behind you, you'll see them all the more with the Polaroids on.
Yeah, right. Now, I just had a look here and there was one just sitting there, a big pike. So we'll see how this dangle works. If I can just get this over it, we'll see what happens. Oh, and he's on. And nearly terrific. Amazing. Come on. And they're a reasonable size pike. We're just sitting in the corner in there and cast over, and they do sit, as you can imagine, like back home, our flathead. He was just sitting there waiting to pounce. I cast our fly, a couple of little tweaks, and he'd come out and woofed it like it owed him money.
Fantastic. Did you see him basking there?
I could just see him sitting down in there.
Yeah.
And look at the mouth on that. You can just see as he opens and the set of those teeth. They've got a real clasping. Whoa! Nearly jumped into the net there. A real set of clasping teeth in there. Just on that. That's a face only a mother could love. Very good. All right, we'll get that net in there. Beautiful. Well done. That was pretty good, mate. That's it. Just have a look at the mouth in there. It's just almost sort of vicious, isn't it? Oh, and the claspers underneath. I won't stick my fingers in there, but you can imagine.
No.
They're just they eat smaller fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
No point being the smallest fish in the environment, is it? With pike around. Yeah. Very good. Excellent, mate.
Pop him back.
Yep. Very good. He'll have a rest under there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He's recovered. He's just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well done.
Very good, mate. Who needs a boat? Who needs a boat?
I saw you sneaking up.
Yeah, I saw it there and I thought, I wonder what would happen, and that's what happens. They grab hold of that. Perfect. That was interesting. Brian mentioned you saw the rows of teeth there. They have an anticoagulant, which is funny enough you wouldn't want to be drinking when you're saying those words. But what that means, like that might bite, like not necessarily a human, but bite a fish, and that will start to bleed, and it won't stop. So that will also allow it to follow it and track it, and so it can actually get to eat its prey, what it's wounded. But when it tends to like bite a human, then that will bleed literally like a stuck pig for hours on end, and yeah, you don't want to get your hands too close to those rows of teeth. One of the beauties of fishing at Portmore Loch is at the end of the day, regardless of whether you catch heaps of fish or none, they've got a little whiskey room here, and all the finest whiskies that you can imagine from Scotland are all here, and all the well-knowns from Talisker, Glenmoray, Glenmorangie, Glen Andrew, Athol Blair. There's the whole shooting match there. So yeah, if you think you've had a bad day out here, a couple of these, it'll make it a really good day. Now I thought at the end of the day, Stevie said I could pick out my favourite one to have a wee dram, and this one was Blair Athol, and it comes from the foothills of the Grampian Mountains, and it's pretty interesting from a lot of our towns and places back home in Australia. Athol's in New Zealand, where we've taken a lot of our trips to, and the Grampian Mountains is exactly where I was brought up. So I thought this was a perfect one to have. You know, so there's obviously a lot of Scottish heritage, you know, back home in Aussie and New Zealand, and
I think the Scots populate the world, so they take the usual. So I'll do a Scotch toast and slange.
Yeah,
Slange.
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 Cheers.
Cheers. To more fish.
That's bra.
Yeah, bro.
The tight lines.
Yeah. Now run me through this fish. We've had this hanging over our heads every time I walk in here, and you go, man, how big's that?
45 pounds, 6 ounces.
Wow.
And it was caught just up at Hangy Birch where you caught your fish. We've had a few big fish. We've had a few 40s, 38s. That's the biggest.
Yep.
That's only 5 inches shy of the British record.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a big fish.
Yeah.
And they're in there that size, but they're it's just getting them.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's going to be quite an old fish.
Why? It'll be probably between 20 and 25 years old, so it's a fairly old fish.
Yeah, so it'd have its smarts
fairly
about
smart,
it.
or fly as we say here.
Yeah, yeah.
And
cool.
when they're spawning, she'll have probably half a dozen jacks. The jacks are always smaller. The jack pike only get to 8 pounds. They don't grow. The males don't grow any bigger than 8.
Yes.
The reason for that is when she's finished spawning, she'll turn around and eat 2.
Yeah.
Or 3 or whatever. So that's the same as your spiders.
Yeah.
So it's that's why the females are so much bigger than the males.